Okay, let's talk about speed some more. Okay, so speed, when I'm talking about speed, is really how fast you can turn around material. So from the time that you get it to the time you have to present it. And frankly, for one scene, you should be able to turn it around in maybe 10 minutes. Maybe 15, 20, whatever, something like that, without too much trouble. And you may say, that's insane, what are you talking about? And I'm not saying you're going to memorize it permanently, that you'll know it permanently, but in 15 minutes you can read it and your short-term memory can recall most of the information quite easily. Like if I told you a story, right, you might not be able to retell the story the next day in detail, but you could retell that story right away. Like if I told you a story, it's about something fairly simple, went down to the coffee shop, had an argument with my girlfriend, and then I saw a car accident and the fireman came. You could recount those details probably pretty accurately, probably more than you might otherwise actually believe. You might surprise yourself. But you can do that, right? It's not that hard to do in 10, 15 minutes. So like a couple of pages, right? Which is really 2 minutes worth of storytelling. 1 minute per page, give or take. Okay, so that's the speed part of it. So 2 scenes, maybe 30 minutes, 3 scenes, 45 minutes, something like that. That's how fast you need to be able to turn around the material, okay? So that's what your goal is. You need to forget everything they taught you about breaking down stuff and starting seated and standing up and, working on it in class and them giving you hints. There's no hints. It's just you. That's all you need. And it's also all you get, because guess what the expectation is of an actor? It's not, they don't want to tell you what to do. They want you to just do it, and they either like it or they don't. Once they've hired you, it really isn't about telling you what to do. They're going to just let you do whatever it is you do, and then if they have some ideas or if they need something a little differently, they'll just sort of give you hints. But most of the time, directors and producers barely speak a word to actors, and you think, oh my gosh, why isn't anyone talking to me? It's because they don't want to mess up with what you're doing. You're doing great, so why would they want to screw that up, right? Okay, so that is the speed component. Is really, you need to be able to turn around material in a half an hour. And I only say a half an hour because that's really all the time you need. That's how I developed my own course, 30-minute audition technique, based on my own audition of thinking an audition was on another day and finding out it was today, and having to call up and apologize and say, oh my gosh, I'm not prepared. And they're just like, it's okay, don't worry about it, because that's what they do, right? They want you to succeed. You think they want you to fail. They want you to succeed. It's like, don't worry about it. We're going to be here all day, blah, 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 because they're bringing you in because they think you're right and they hope you're right for the part, right? And so I had to go in, and I found somebody to kind of cold read with for 10 minutes. 10 minutes? What am I talking about? 5 minutes. Then they brought me in, and I thought, okay, I'm going to be, I'll just stand there with the page and read it, and I'll just save my reputation. At least I showed up. And I did the audition, and they asked me to do it one more time, and I actually found I was off book. I didn't need, it was like there. It was just there. Because I went in bare bones, and I was just left naked with only my capabilities and who I was as a person, and that's what I gave them. And so I did that, and the director said, it was a multi-recurring series. It's been on the air for years, and he said, that might be the best audition I've ever seen for this show. And I'm laughing because I'm like, normally what I would want, 24 hours or 2 days or whatever. That's what I would have wanted, because that's my mentality was, I need time to prepare. And that's when I realized you're actually better off without time to prepare. You're actually better off just read the stuff right before you walk in, and whatever your instincts tell you the first time, that's the truth, because in life, we rely on our instincts. So why aren't we relying on our instincts when it comes to art? Because all art is our interpretation, our instinctual interpretation of the world, whatever part of the world we're looking at. As an actor, the part of the world we're looking at is somebody else's writing, okay? So that's what our job is, to go, oh, okay, this is what this is what this feels like. Boom, you do it, and they either like it or they don't. There's no way to anticipate what it is they're gonna want, what it is. You'll never guess what they want, and they don't know what they want until they see it. They have an idea. You're gonna have ideas. You should get rid of your ideas because they're no good to you. Get rid of all ideas. Just trust your instincts. And don't forget results. Just go in there and show them who you are. Show them your art, okay? So that is the speed aspect of things. Now let's talk about the practice. How do you get there? Well, you get there by practicing reading scenes, learning what the story is of the scene. And when I say story, I mean every single detail that they give you and nothing that they don't give you, okay? You don't add a bunch of stuff. You don't make choices. Whatever you need to know is there on the page, pretty much. And even if it's not on the page, you could probably figure it out. You can, I wouldn't say make assumptions, but you might be able to make inferences, and they probably suggest stuff. And if you can't do that, then you need to practice script analysis, because I can tell you the exact purpose of a scene. I just did that with my client. She didn't quite get it, right? She didn't understand. She got all into her stuff, right? Like, oh, this is the part that's mine, and they get all, possessive about it, and all gushy about it. And I'm like, you need to look at the whole thing. Why is this scene even there, okay? And what is the purpose of the scene? Why does it exist? And then you need to figure out, okay, I know why the scene is there, because it has to do with the major characters, right? And then if you're a minor character, you need to figure out, why did they put this minor character in there? What is that character's purpose? And I knew that, but she didn't. And then I said, okay, now I know why the scene's there. I know why you're there. How do you fulfill the role of your character, okay? Is it just say the words, or what is it that they need this character to be so that they can fulfill their purpose, okay? And it's pretty cool. You're fulfilling your character's purpose. But it's really, really simple. It's the 3 questions. What's the purpose of the scene? What's the purpose of the character? How do you fulfill the character's purpose, okay? And so that's the first thing you do. And actually, once you know that, then the rest is just going over it in a sort of a multi-stage little model that I've created, which is basically to learn the whole story, learn everything, every single detail, so that you could tell somebody right away. If I asked you, how many cars do these people own? If that's in the script, and you go, they own 2 cars, one's a Buick and one's a Corvette, right? You know all the facts, because you have to know the facts. Otherwise, how can you be accurate about your interpretation, right? It's like, is there a tree in the painting? There is or there isn't. So if you're painting a landscape and you miss a tree, then it's not going to be a good representation. It's the same thing with acting. Is it in the scene or is it not in the scene? If it's in the scene, you have to include it, and if it's not in the scene, keep it out. Okay, so the first step in that process, and this is how you practice, is you learn the story, okay? All the facts, every single fact. Then the next thing you do is you record the whole story on a recorder, a voice recorder. And when you record it, leave a gap for your lines, okay? In fact, let me just change that. Forget the whole story, because you know the story. Now you can just record all of the actor lines. That's it, blah, 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 blah. But leave a space for your lines so that you have time to have a response to what everybody else is doing and saying. Okay, so now that you've got it recorded, just play it back and sit there on a couch, sit there somewhere comfortably, and try and put yourself in the situation. So if it was Goldilocks and the three bears, and you're one of the bears, then sit there as that bear and go, the bears came home and Mama Bear said, and let's say you're Papa Bear. So Mama Bear, and you know what you're seeing, right? You're seeing, I don't know, porridge on the table or something, or empty porridge bowls. I don't know what it is. But if you're Papa Bear and Mama Bear says, oh my gosh, we've been violated, or whatever it is, you're like, what's your reaction to that? You have lines, but forget the lines. Maybe you got lines, maybe you don't have lines, because you should be living through everything anyway, right? You don't wait till you have a line to live. You're alive. So whatever's going on, whatever you hear going on, and whatever you see going on, and you see it in your mind's eye because you have it in your imagination, you respond to that without words. You just like, huh? Huh? Like an animal would. Huh? Whoa. Whatever that is. Oh, okay? And so that's the second attempt, the second pass. Again, it's like a couple of minutes. And then for the next pass, what you're gonna do is play the lines again. And look, this is an iterative process. You're not gonna be good at this at first. This is what I'm talking about, practice, but this is what you're going to practice to get really, really good. Okay? So that you can turn around material very quickly and people will go, oh my gosh, this person was made to do this. Okay, so next pass is just improvisation, okay? You're just gonna play the scene, the recorded version of the scene, and rather than sitting there in silence and acting like an animal, you're gonna say whatever comes to mind. And you can say it whenever you want. You don't have to wait for your lines. Just be there, okay? Like, it's sort of like you're, like, again, real life, right? If you're in a party or you're at a dinner with a bunch of people, you're waiting for your turn, but you're kind of like trying to talk, when somebody else is talking, you're like, oh, I don't want to interrupt them. So you're going through, you're alive, 100% alive, 100% of the time. You could even be distracted, like, if it makes sense, because, we can be distracted by things. Like, it might say you look at the bedroom door and you see it's open just when, Mama Bear says, oh my gosh, the spoon's dirty. And you're like, staring at the door and you're like, huh? Oh, the spoon's dirty? What the heck? Right? So you can say and do whatever you want. That's your second time around, or third time around. But this is the second time listening to the lines only. And then, by then, you're probably 90% familiar with what's going on, and you pretty much are going to be automatically wanting to say the lines that were written for you because you understand the whole thing so intimately now. And now finally, just take a quick glance at the page and see how close you actually are to the right lines, and just look them over, and then you do the final pass, which is with the lines that were given to you. And I can almost guarantee that maybe not the first time you do this, but after a few attempts, you will be quite proficient, surprisingly proficient, at being able to turn a scene around really fast using that simple technique. Of course, that is the simplest way I can tell you it, but I have created a course around it. There's a lot of rationale to it, and examples of people who have used it and how it's worked for them. But for the purposes of illustration, that's basically the practice part of it. And here's where most people blow it, okay? they get a technique, right? You go to school, they give you a technique. Oh, what do you do with it? You wait until you have an opportunity to use it professionally, right? You don't practice it. You don't practice it when you don't need to. You only practice it when you need to. So like you only prepare an audition when you have an audition. Well, you think you're going to go to the Olympics with that mentality? And guess what you're in? If you're trying to get professional acting jobs, you are in the Olympics. You are at the top echelon of one of the most competitive businesses on the planet. And you're sitting there waiting for someone to tell you to practice. Like, hey, you have an audition. Oh, what is it? I'm not going to lift a finger until I know what it is. And then I have to look at my part and kind of let my ego go, is it good enough for me? I don't know. It's kind of small. I don't like it. You know, and you go through this whole process, but you haven't even lifted a finger. You've never practiced. And so you don't have a skill. You don't have any skills. You need to make it like a language that it's unassailable. Like you can do this with people shooting at you, sort of like riding a bike, right? You can talk on a phone. You can listen to music. You can ride a bike with no hands. You could eat a sandwich while riding a bike. And if you think about it, it's pretty incredible because a bike is a skinny thing with only two wheels, which would fall over if you weren't handling it properly. So if you can do all that, that's how you need to be able to do your acting, so that you could be in a bunker getting gunfire and a casting director or a producer or whatever is saying, okay, action. And you're like, okay, so the bear walks into the house and they see that the spoon is not in the bowl, and this is me dodging bullets while I'm acting out, Goldilocks and the Three Bears. So you have to have a bulletproof skill that cannot be easily shaken of you. And it's not affected by nerves either, because nerves arise because you're not thinking, you're thinking of what other people are thinking of you and how you will look, how badly you will look, or what the poor results will be if you're not doing a good job. So you're actually not doing the thing you're supposed to be doing. That's why you get nervous, because you're not focused on the doing of the thing you're supposed to be doing. If you were focused on the actual acting part, like the process, riding the bike, like the reason people fall off a bike is because they think they're going to fall off a bike, or they think of the pain of falling off a bike. It's fear, right? It's fear of poor results. And so if you just go, I'm just going to focus on this. If I fall off, I fall off. And I'm just going to get back on and keep doing it. But the less you can think about the results, the better. So don't think about them at all, because you have no control over them. Nobody has any control over the results. It's like a huge conglomerate of decisions and details and facts and events that really nobody's in control of, so least of all you. So don't think about them. Just concentrate on becoming really, 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 really good at what you do. And then when you get the opportunity to show people what you can do, then you just turn it on, right? Like, do you know how to hit a tennis ball? Like I've been playing tennis since I was a little kid, so I don't really have to think about it. If I had 1,000 people watching me, yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess I get that. I might get the sense of embarrassment, and that would make me self-conscious and maybe scared or whatever. And would that help me? No. So what you have to do is go, hit the tennis ball. Okay. You hit it over the net. 70,000 people go wild. And you're like, hey, go wild or don't go wild. I'm not here, to control that. That's up to you guys. You can like it or not like it. And that's kind of life in a nutshell. And that's certainly art and acting in a nutshell. Your job is to be an artist. So be an artist. The way to be an artist is to have a technique and then to practice that technique relentlessly and ruthlessly. But the way to do that is to make the decision that you're going to enjoy it, because it should give you an absolute thrill knowing that you are in complete control of your destiny. And the way you have control of your destiny is because you can develop a technique and you can practice that technique so that you become incredibly good at it. And if you're really good at something, then, and you really enjoy doing it, and it's easy for you because you've made it easy, then you should be dying to get in front of people to show them what you can do. Not because, oh, I'm so good, but I think this is a really interesting piece of writing, and I feel like I can insert myself into it believably. And that's what I want to do. I'd like to show you my version of what you've written. I'd like to show you my interpretation of this viewpoint of the world. So here it is. And that's really what it is. Like, it's like a song, right? It's like 1,000 people can sing the same song and it's different every time. But it's when you try to copy somebody else that it's no good, because you'll always be thinking of the original when somebody tries to copy the original. So give it your own spin, and at first they might go, oh, that sure wasn't like the Elvis version. Like Fine Young Cannibals oh gosh, wise men say, fools, I can't remember. I don't know if that's the song they did. But they did a version of an Elvis song that at first you're like, that's okay. But now it's like way more iconic than the Elvis version. And, I'm sure that's heresy to big Elvis fans. But you get what I mean, right? Like, make it your own. Make it your own. That's what they want to see. It's never been done before, so that's the even better part. It's not Shakespeare. It was written 2 hours ago. It'll be performed in 2 days, and it'll probably be rewritten 2 more times before it gets recorded onto camera. So you just can't think about all that stuff. All you got to think about is your interpretation of the material, but only once you have a very clear, defined technique in what it is that you are doing right now. So if you're throwing the javelin, you got to learn how to throw the javelin. And if you're running the hurdles, then you learn how to run the hurdles, right? It's 2 different things. In comedy and drama and all that stuff, everything is specific. And you're specific. So, get yourself a technique, practice the crap out of it so that it's automatic. You can't, that they can't take it away from you no matter what the conditions, because you can't take it away from you. It's in you. It's like, could you forget how to speak English? No. Could you forget how to speak your native tongue when people are tickling you or people are trying to talk over you or distract you? No, you're still going to remember how to speak English. And that's what you need to do. You need to practice this like it's a language and make it something that's as ingrained as your native language. If you do those things, then you will be unassailable, impenetrable, and you will have the confidence, and this is huge, right? Because people are nervous. Well, they're nervous because they don't know what they're doing. So when you know what you're doing, and you know what you're good at and you're right for, then you're confident, because you're like, oh yeah, I want to do that. I'm the person for that. I'm actually going to solve your problems. Thank you, David Patrick Green. You're solving our problems. And that's what I've done countless times over and over. Most of the time, I'm not making those decisions. People are just calling me up saying, David, can you do this? And based on what I've done in the past, they think I can do that. And I'll look at it and I'll go, yeah, this sounds like me, or this doesn't sound like me. There's somebody that's going to be way better at this, and I'm just going to decline. Thank you very much for thinking of me, but it ain't me. I love telling my agents that. They hate me saying it, but I know I'm going to make myself look bad, and it's just kind of a waste of everybody's time if I go in there and do something like an idea of a librarian, right? Like, there's some sort of nerdy, geeky guy who just lives that, and they're sending me in, and I'm not really like that. So what am I going to go, oh, hello, sir. Like I'm doing some silly affectation of what my idea of it is. And it's just not going to be what they're looking for. It's not going to fit. That's the main thing. It's not going to fit. So anyway, guys, that's that. It was quite a long video, but lots of good information. The 2 main things you need to focus on are developing a technique and rehearsing the heck out of it so that it's unassailable, so that you cannot be defeated when delivering it. And on that note, I'm going to bid you a good evening, and if you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please put them in the comment section below or contact me directly, david@hackhollywood.com. If you're interested in applying any of these techniques at a greater level, again, hit me up by email. And yeah, subscribe to my channel, like this video if you wouldn't mind, and click the bell and you will get notifications of future videos of this nature. All right, have a great one.